Look at the world map now. Continents, oceans, mountain ranges and dry deserts, icy wastelands and lands burnt by sun. We, Homo sapiens, see our Earth through a filter of civilized safety, through the prism of knowledge, technology, and future prediction ability. But in reality, this filter is thin and fragile. Go back 95 million years, to the distant mid-Cretaceous, when Earth was still subject to nature's original, completely wild and utterly ruthless forces. Then this fragile filter breaks, and you quickly reach Patagonia. This is not an ordinary region. It's not just a wild ecosystem. It is a deadly theater, with rules dictated by a predatory machine. It is an arena of evolutionary terror, a natural lab for extreme gigantism and brutal, relentlessly harsh selective pressure. If you, armed with modern knowledge, found yourself on this Earth, your technology would fail, your predictions would be completely useless, and your adaptive advantage would almost instantly vanish in just 1 second. In the region's geological chronicle, this nightmare has two defined acts, two necropolises of giants from the Cenomanian and Turonian ages, the Candeleros Formation and the Huincul Formation. Their rocks aren't ordinary. They're fossilized crime scenes. They conceal evidence of a fauna so powerful and incomprehensible, so perfectly adapted to killing and domination, that every interaction would be a certain, unavoidable death sentence for an intruder outside this system. In Candeleros, megadredators ruled, waiting for herbivores with mass exceeding the mass of 10 elephants, and Huincul was an arena for the colossal battles of titans, whose sheer presence and size would likely lead us to a severe heart attack. If you are still here and feel like you want to know the names of your future killers, we start with the Candeleros Formation. Imagine a land where the air is thick and heavy with heat, and the horizon shimmers incessantly from burning hot solar heat. This is the oldest geological layer of this Patagonian epic, which was an absolutely dry, burnt, and volatile world. Its red and purple sandstones, fine and coarse-grained quartz grains, are not only a record of geology, but a chronicle of a climate that acted like a furnace under the open sky. Long periods of devastating drought were interrupted only by occasional violent downpours, which like a lash crushed delicate ecosystems, only to surrender the ground to the sun once again. Vegetation was a modest illusion of life. Scattered ferns, a few shrubs, isolated thickets resistant to the heat, which provided minimal shelter for the first herbivores. Dunes shifted like living mountains of sand, and life that dared to exist here had to be eternally vigilant, remarkably swift, and relentlessly hungry. It was in this burning, merciless world that the culminating predatory nightmare of the Cretaceous was born, considered by many to be the greatest terrestrial predator that ever walked this earth. Welcome the Giganotosaurus. This great dinosaur was the personification of fear, a living tool of destruction, precisely designed by the ruthless, relentless evolution of the Red Desert. It could measure even more than the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex known to everyone. Some researchers suggest that the largest specimens reached over 13 meters in length and weighed approximately 14 tons. And yet it was a true pursuit machine, created for efficiently covering long distances across the vast, sun-scorched spaces of Patagonia. It could accelerate to a staggering 50 kilometers per hour, a result simply insane for a predator of such enormous sizes. Instead of mashing clubs, it had literal razor blades. Its teeth were powerful, curved, serrated blades that, unlike the teeth of the tyrannosaurs, did not break bones. Their task was to inflict deep, tearing circulatory wounds, having only one purpose: to bleed the victim out. The method of killing, though cruel, was ingenious. In Candeleros, nobody died fast. Death was a slow, painful process, necessity in an arid landscape where every predator had to conserve energy. In the shadow of this Carcharodontosaur, other, smaller, yet still impressive predators hid. One of them was the mighty and fearsome Giganotosaurus, whose largest individuals could reach about 8 meters long and weighed nearly a full ton. Another example of predators were the swift, insect-eating Alvarez sauroids, growing in extreme cases to 2 or even 2.5 meters and weighing up to 40 kilograms. Among them circulated a host of eternally insatiable creatures, ready to fight for every precious scrap of meat that appeared in this harsh world. In an environment where food was the only real currency, brutal rivalry simply prevailed. This was the era of predators with similar strength, pace, and hunting strategies. Each of them tried to take the highest place in the food chain, but the position of the dominator was never entirely certain. Even the most powerful ruler had to consider that one day someone would dethrone him without hesitation. But if predators inspire fear, the herbivores of Huincul inspire at least astonishment. If by some miracle no predator has devoured you yet, you were probably accidentally crushed by the leg of an herbivore the size of a 4-story building. In this geological layer, true behemoths appeared, whose existence seemed to contradict all logic. We are talking about Giganotosaurus, one of the largest land animals in history, reaching up to around 35 to 40 meters long and weighing an astonishing 70 tons, and about a whole host of truly gigantic titanosaurs, such as Chukarosaurus, Bustingorititan, or Cytosaura. Adult specimens, these living, walking mountains, were practically unkillable. Their sheer mass was simultaneously their best weapon and shield. No predator, even the largest one, had the slightest chance alone in a fight with such a giant. However, young, sick, or wounded individuals, a completely different story. They constituted the key to survival for Huincul predators and their vital objective. This is precisely why predation had to grow in both scale and intelligence. Mapusaurus fossils found in clusters suggest that hunting such monumental victims required cooperation. They were not solitary beasts, but coordinated, extremely effective killing machines, capable of jointly separating a young titanosaur from the rest of the herd. Hunting a giant was risky, but it also constituted the greatest and most valuable prize truly worth fiercely fighting for. This is only a fragment of the nightmare, merely a sliver of what Cretaceous Patagonia truly was. Because even if you can vividly imagine gigantic herbivorous behemoths and predatory shadows lurking among the trunks of the araucarias, the most important truth still escapes you. A human would have absolutely no chance there. It's not that it would be really hard. It's not that it would be too risky either. The point is, that world simply could not be survived. Imagine that you arrive there as Homo sapiens, not as an armed soldier, not as a researcher in a protective suit, but as the biological organism we truly are, naked, fragile, and weak. In the Candeleros formation, the environment would kill you before any predator would manage to even sense you. The air was so dry that after several minutes, your mouth would resemble cracked clay, and your eyelids would sting like after pouring dust into the eyes. The sun would burn you mercilessly. Every step on the heated sand would be like stepping on a glowing sheet of metal. Your body, programmed for a temperate climate naturally, would start to overheat almost immediately. Water loss? Instantaneous. Dizziness? Guaranteed, absolutely. Collapse? A matter of several dozen minutes only. And if, by some absurd caprice of fate, you survived the first half hour, know this one thing. In this world, everyone already knows that you are here. The smell of sweat, the smell of stress, the sound of your steps. Each of these signals would be like an alarm. Candeleros was a stage where predators and scavengers reacted to the smallest manifestation of weakness. The fact that you are not part of the local fauna works against you. They don't recognize you. You are an object for them to examine, and examination happens there through biting. And although Huincul looks greener, for you it would be even worse. Its more humid environment, intersected by seasonal rivers, surrounded by ancient araucaria groves and quite dense forest thickets, attracted an incomparably larger number of animals. And where there is more life, there are also more eyes, more ever-watchful teeth, and more instinct that reacts to every single movement. Entering this forest steppe, you became an element of an invisible alarm network in which everything observed everything. Imagine that you are walking through this world. Suddenly you hear a branch crack under your foot. To you it is a trifle. For this local ecosystem, a clear signal. Nearby stands Meraxes, whose massive skull is bigger than your entire chest. In the thicket, Taurovenator may be lurking, a predator capable of hunting victims heavier than a school bus. Each of these animals was created to detect movement, smell, and ground vibrations with almost unnatural precision. In such a world, you become the most obvious and the easiest target among all bipedal creatures. As I mentioned earlier, even these massive walking colossi could still pose a lethal threat to you. One accidental step would be enough to end your entire history forever. The huge titanosaurs would not perceive you as a being, a threat, or even something alive. You would be only a small dot lost in the high grass. The mass of one of their steps could press you into the earth like a worthless clump of mud. Not out of hostility, not out of intention, they simply would not even notice your presence. It is in this indifference that the true nature of this place hides. Cretaceous Patagonia was not a world created against mankind. It is man that is incompatible with that world. We are merely a total accident here, a being unadapted, too fragile, too slow to survive here, and definitely too weak to truly belong to it. The Candeleros and Huincul ecosystem would naturally not treat us as tempting targets. It would hunt us for the same reason that every creature here hunted others, because in this world, only what was absolutely merciless or absolutely huge survived. And man is neither one nor the other.